Hi everyone, as promised, here is the proper desert oasis base I finished about a month ago that I want to show you at last. I don't know exactly how long it took me to build, maybe 100 hours. Building in this game is way more time consuming than Fallout settlements. It was more of an ordeal than fun to me, I have to admit. I almost scrapped it several times. Eventually I started to like it enough to stick with it. The Hollowed Holes update, while great, added an abandoned camp right at the edge of my base boundaries, and now the terrain doesn't line up anymore, creating this really ugly sand wall here. I guess the only way to fix the terrain is to put down a second flame shrine and smooth out the edges. Still a little bummed about this, but at least the update didn't actually mess up my base. Stuff like this is one of the reasons I never bought an early access game before, especially when it comes to base building. I'm the kind of person who gets really upset when my base gets ruined or deleted. That's one of the annoying things about No Man's Sky. Various updates have completely changed the planets I built bases on, ruining the aesthetics. Now this is my hunter's small cozy house. It looks a little different from the rest of the village. I gave it a rounded shape that is supposed to imitate the shape of the rock it is built on. Unfortunately, this led to a lot of columns, giving it a strange cramped look, especially on the outside. The inside is fine, I think. Looks cozy enough. I used plant fiber roof blocks to frame windows, and I also created railings with it. I like how that turned out. I spent a long time trying to add trims to the roof, and most of it didn't turn out well. The behavior of roof blocks is kind of infuriating in general. I can't seem to figure out exactly what the pattern is, so that was a lot of trial and error. I wish the game had a build camera to show off the details of the outside of buildings. I almost installed a mod that allows your character to sort of fly in first person for my recordings, but then decided it was too much work. I did very little terraforming, mostly just to add grass growing out of the magical water pool below the mage tower. I looked around the map carefully for a spot where the terrain already looked how I wanted it. So this creature den made of twigs was the perfect place to build my hunter's cabin on. I added a fence in anticipation of a possible livestock farming update. I added a lot of ornamentation to the buildings in an effort to conceal that they're really still just square boxes. The whole layout of this little village is very simple. I added a lot of metal columns and beams to the blacksmith house, and all houses but the hunter's cabin have lots of bronze and wood ornaments around doors and windows that look interesting, I think. What's cool about the refined sandstone blocks is that when you add a layer, a pretty blue trim gets added in the corners. It's really cool. The blacksmith house has an open ceiling where the heat and smoke from the smelter goes out. Everything in this game is so pretty. I absolutely adore the art style. No matter what you build, it all looks so beautiful. And I am so glad you can place decorations anywhere you want. In Fallout 4 you cannot place anything inside bookshelves without mods. Here it just works. For real. A minor gripe I have is that the collision of some objects is terrible. They have a huge invisible radius around them, so you can't place certain things together very well. I saw that this is a problem with trees as well when you try building tree houses. The collision of the tree trunk stays the same even as the trunk gets thinner at the top. I hope this is fixed by the time I have a go at tree houses. This is the upper floor of the carpenter's house. It's his home. The workshop is in a different building. I wasn't planning on giving all NPCs very unique houses initially. I wanted to create a somewhat natural looking village for ordinary settlers that we may or may not be getting in the future, built around the central square where the flame altar is. So you'll notice that the different homes and workshops kind of blend together. Only the hunter's cabin and blacksmith house and the mage tower, of course, are self-contained thematic buildings. Oh yeah, and the new Hollowed Halls NPC has his own little hidden crypt. So yeah, okay, so it's really only the carpenter and the farmer that sort of share space across several rooms. This is a very pompous greenhouse. Initially I planted a tree in it, but it didn't fit. The second to last growth phase would have been perfect, but then it got even bigger and burst through the ceiling, so I had to scrap it and replace it with something less cool. It's still super pretty in there though, not much room to grow stuff however. Unlike most people, I always build too small, so this villager is kind of cramped too. The carpenter's workshop is a little boring. It needs more decoration items, but currently the game doesn't really have much to choose from when it comes to the carpenter. Or maybe I'm not creative enough. In any case, the tables and cupboards and chairs is what he's been working on. The adjacent building's ground floor is a simple storage room where all the finished furniture is kept. I really hope we get more settlers so that I can roleplay that the carpenter is helping survivors renovate all the crumbled towns. It's probably a pipe dream of mine that we can get settlers like in Fallout 4 who can be assigned to jobs. The roadmap talks about townfolk, but we don't know if this means we will get populated villages or people can be added to our own bases. Two very different things. One thing I always disliked about base building No Man's Sky was how empty and dead your bases were without settlers. You did have a bunch of NPCs who helped you unlock new base building stuff, very similar to Enshrouded actually, but proper populated bases is something we never got. Here we have another small greenhouse, mostly for mushrooms. I wonder if it's a bug that the blue mushroom has a growth stage that is bigger than the final form. The two stages seem switched to me. Has anybody else noticed that? Outside we have grow beds for sun-loving bell peppers, tomatoes and strawberries. Next door we have the farmer's private quarters. It's where I use the pretty palm wood furniture that I really like. On top of the building we have a shaded area with benches where people come to relax, maybe read a little, enjoy the flowers. I'm lacking the proper vocabulary for this sort of place, an arbor maybe? Next to it is a small shrine overlooking the magical oasis below the mage tower. The whole settlement sits right next to both the blue shroud and the deadly red shroud at the right hand edge of the map. Let's go and check out what hides below the village. I wish the secret hidden floor panel came in more variety of materials, so there's nothing hidden about this one, but the opening animation is neat, and what's down here doesn't need hiding anyway because it's a bathhouse. The carpenter and the alchemist have their own bathtubs, the others don't however, and anyway, what's not to love about a bathhouse in the desert, right? I wish the blue luminescent blocks didn't have visible borders though. This checkered look is not pretty and kind of kills the fake water look we have to contend with until water gets added, if that's feasible at all. And this is the modest crypt I built for the new Hollowed House NPC, the Collector. Initially I wanted to build something bigger, but it was not possible so close to the red shroud. I was digging myself out of the sand and into the shroud, so 2 floors in height is all I could build. But that's okay, I think it turned out quite nice. Getting all the new building blocks and decorations playing solo was crazy though. I managed the first 2 halls fine, but for the other 2 I admit I had to resort to cheating. I was using Wii-mod already to debug myself as many building blocks as I needed for the settlement, otherwise I would have wasted dozens of hours on grinding out materials, and that's not fun to me personally. Creative mode can't come soon enough. Anyway, Wii-mod also has an option to make yourself invincible, and that's how I got through the other 2 halls at a reasonable speed. This is the magical oasis that makes everything bloom. The colors pop beautifully against the desert sand, does it not? Really happy how that turned out. The original idea I had for an oasis, however, was to have it at the center of the build and the village around it in a circle. But I couldn't find a good spot for it. Then I came across this location and had another idea. The terrain is all natural, I just had to fill up the cave that was a scorpion den before with blue blocks of fake water and add blue crystals. The natural shallow round dip in the terrain was perfect for all the flower soil growing in it. The idea was for the grass to slowly grow further and further out of the magical water pool, snaking its way up the tower and other buildings. The Alchemist Tower took me a crazy 30 or so hours to build, and when I was finally done and had scrapped the 30 or so platforms around it to actually look at it properly, I hated it. It was the first thing I built, and I almost scrapped it and gave up on the whole project and base building in this game in general. I still don't like this tower from the outside. The style is too detailed. It looks more like a Lego tower than something that fits with the style of this game in my opinion. I had nothing more than wasted time, however, so I decided to keep at it, expand the build, and if it doesn't look like complete garbage at the end, I'd make a video. And so I have. Maybe somebody will like it? Let me know in the comments. At least from the inside it looks decent, I guess, and the library at the top is kinda cool, I would say. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. It's because the inside looks okay that I totally forgot to check how the tower looks from afar. I wish I had a fly cam to at least show off how much work the detailing was, and even though nobody will see it, I made everything 100% symmetrical, for what it's worth. So here is the spacious library of sorts, completely impractical of course, but I do like this idea at least. To tell the truth, I had a major creative crisis. I had watched over a dozen absolutely amazing base showcase it and was so stoked to build my own bases, and then I sat there and I couldn't come up with anything. I realized that I am not as creative as I'd like to think, at least when it comes to a system like Minecraft, a game I never played, so I was new to the total freedom of placing every single block myself. And it was incredibly intimidating and overwhelming. And what's worse, it wasn't fun to me. This build here was an ordeal, not fun. I enjoy Fallout 4 settlement building like crazy and I'm really good at it, but Enshrouded? Not so much. I'm no architect. I can't compete with all the brilliant stuff others have built, which is why I picked the desert biome. Few people seem to build here, so I don't know, maybe I have something to contribute after all? Maybe? I don't know. I tried to break up the square layout of the village and make it look prettier and more organic by rounding the edges of the foundations, adding non-square flower beds and the like. Planting anything in soil that is not native to the biome is really annoying. You have to dig 2 squares deep into the sand here and fill the hole with farm soil. Often that results in raised bumps of soil I didn't want. I don't know why it happens, it only happens sometimes. So I tried this over and over, and that's the reason why I didn't add too many non-native flowers here, because I was going crazy. It's also annoying that plants need a certain radius of free space around them or the seedling will immediately disappear. So you cannot build a small flower bed with just 1 block of soil. Anybody who's built anything in this game can probably relate to my pain. And that's all there is to see in my base. I'm going to quickly show you what it looks like at night, since all sources of light look amazing in this game, especially at night, so incredibly pretty. I considered expanding the base, adding more buildings, maybe add a watchtower on top of the hill at the other side of the road leading into the Shroud, or build a bridge over the Red Shroud. I don't even know if that's possible, I didn't try in the end. I was just too tired to be honest and wanted to be done with this build. I understand now how people easily spend 150 hours or something on their bases. It's an insane time sink. It's downright prohibitively time consuming. So much so that it might be too much of an investment, even for someone like me who easily spends like 60 or 80 hours building Fallout 4 settlements. So I can promise you more Enshrouded content. I haven't touched the game in over a month. I'll come back to it when more content drops, however. Maybe by then I will have more ideas for builds. I still want to build a base in every biome. The Kindlewastes is the least pretty biome, ironically, to me. I do love sand and sandstone ever since my visits to Arizona and Utah, but I kind of hate the scorched sand here. The normal sand is beautiful. When you put down any floor, however, you get this ugly red burnt sand around it. Thank you for watching this video. If you're new to my channel, check out my Fallout settlements and consider subscribing. Speaking of Fallout, I am super stoked for the London mod. I read there's going to be base building there too, so I can't wait for people to add mods to London and have a go at England themed settlements. If it's fun and I come up with something cool, I'll upload it to this channel. In the meantime, I'll continue replaying Witcher 3 and Baldur's Gate 3, having an absolute blast with both. I haven't replayed Witcher 3 in so long it almost feels like playing a new game. The Fallout TV show has made me want to replay New Vegas. I only played it once in 2016, I think. Time flies. Drop me a comment if you want more Enshrouded stuff or more Fallout. Well, more Fallout is kind of a given with me, to be honest, but still, you know. Have a great day, and until next time.